the Spider-Man from YouTube.
Hello friends, my name is Stevie Cade and welcome to Film Trigger. As you know, we are continuing our Spider-Man review series and we are next in line with Spider-Man Homecoming, and we have finally made it to the MCU. Well, they're all technically part of the MCU now, but before we dive into all that, if you could, head down to that thumbs up, subscribe button, and the little bell ding thing so you can click all of those so YouTube knows that I exist as a fucking YouTuber. Apparently they need all those to make that happen. Anyhow, without further ado, let's dive into my review for Spider-Man Homecoming. After watching the Raimi series and then going into the Amazing Spider-Man, I was kind of dreading going into the Tom Holland version, not for any other reason than I think it's just the one I've seen the most recent of. It's the most oversaturated Spider-Man in the sense that we've seen him in many other places other than Spider-Man movies. With the newest movie, Spider-Man No Way Home, that just came out, there was so much hype, so much talk, so much discussion that I really got Spider-Man fatigue when it came to Tom Holland's Spider-Man. But it was really nice to revisit this movie. I had a great time with it. So with that being said, let's dive into what I like about this movie. This movie is all around fun. It's a very well balanced and told story. It's got the perfect combination of comedy, drama, action, web slinging, everything you want from a Spider-Man movie and more you didn't know you wanted. Now, there is no origin story being told here because, well, we've seen Uncle Ben die twice now. That's enough. We get it. Uncle Ben, responsibility, Spider-Man moving forward. We don't need to bog down our time with that origin story again, even though I did say in my last review that origin stories are important, and I still agree with that. But for the sake of this film, I think it's just as important to move forward and then maybe tell that origin story a little later down the road, which I think they're going to do moving forward with the MCU. But I'm glad we didn't have to go through the origin story a third time. This way we can just jump right into the plot and let Spider-Man be Spider-Man and tell a good Spider-Man story. This was not this Spider-Man's first appearance. His first appearance was in Captain America Civil War. And I think this movie did a phenomenal job doing a recap of that. That fun video diary Peter Parker was doing was a really creative way to let us know what happened previous to this, so you actually don't need to see Civil War to know where he is at in the realm of the MCU. And as I said, it's in a fun way with the video diary, something that a teenager would do. And this is a very teenager-y movie, a very John Hughes-inspired coming-of-age type of movie with a genetically modified spider hybrid teenager as its lead. Is it genetically modified? Or is it a radioactive spider? You know what? That's something we don't know about this Spider-Man. The past two Spider-Man have went the genetically modified route, but the comic book is radioactive. Maybe Tom Holland will be the first live-action radioactive Spider-Man recipient. I'm going down a lot of rabbit holes. Moving forward. My point is, this was a very successful adaptation. It gave us something new, something that we haven't seen before, and that is Peter Parker, Spider-Man, in school, doing teenage school things. He's just hanging around doing typical high school social events, and it shows his true sacrifice as Spider-Man, as he doesn't quite get to hang out at the party or hang out with his friends. He's always having to take off and do the Spider-Man stuff, and that's the real sacrifice. We've never really get to see that actually play out from this angle before. And there's a Spidey team. We have Ned, the guy in the chair, which is a fun aspect. This is actually the first person to help Spider-Man. This movie has a lot of firsts. That wasn't a defiant girlfriend or a bad guy turned good guy. You know, like, it's an actual teammate, somebody who can play Oracle and help guide Spider-Man in situations that he might need help with. It's nice to see Peter have friends that don't die immediately. So it was fun. We actually get to see Peter Parker nerd out with another geek, you know, another outcast.
Can you summon an army of spiders?
No, Ned, no.
Do you know him too?
Stole his shield.
Can I try the suit on? Badass.
He's not alone in this world where they're kind of alone. And that was nice to see. It was nice to have that camaraderie with Ned, somebody that Peter Parker can actually talk to besides himself or the camera. And as I said, the overall story is pretty well told here. It weaves itself really well into the Avengers mythology. The events that took place in the original Avengers movie is what created the Vulture. So the movie ties in really well with the pre-existing MCU without forcing it too hard in there. That's what she said. And speaking of the Avengers created antagonist, Michael Keaton as Vulture. Dude, this guy, there's two things to say about this character. Number one, Michael Keaton playing this character is hands down amazing. It's disturbing how well Michael Keaton can go from fun, happy father figure to murderous psychopath in an instant. Like in one shot, in one scene. Like,
I want you to understand. The rich and the powerful, like Stark, they don't care about us.
The world's changing, boys.
Time we change too.
and the second thing is the surprise, twist at the end of the movie where Michael Keaton was the father of Peter Parker's crush and prom date. Didn't see that one coming. And I'm glad I didn't see that coming because that was a nice, surprising element of the movie. It happened in such an odd pace, in such an odd spot in the movie. You just weren't expecting it. I thought they did a really good job holding that back until the right moment. I guess three things to say about Vulture. His outfit is awesome. I know the comic book Vulture looks wacky, to say it lightly. It's a very odd costume. But this costume I thought was a great upgrade from that. It looked realistic enough, so I can buy that. The Spidey suit. Well, the homemade Spidey suit. I loved the homemade Spidey suit. We got to see a little glimpse of it also in Civil War, but we get more of a glimpse. Not even a glimpse. We get a whole third act with this suit.
Just don't do anything stupid. All right?
Yeah.
It also has its own identity, its own expression, just something a teenager would make. And this is the first Spider-Man that makes his own webbing. Well, fabricates his own webbing, because I guess technically Tobey Maguire literally made his own somehow. Scientifically speaking, smart Peter Parker, this is the first time he actually made his own webbing. Not just the web shooters, which he did make himself, but the actual webbing itself. That was an aspect I thought was very much missing from The Amazing Spider-Man, because that was Oscorp webbing. Kind of a cheat. It was a cheat. So I'm glad they implemented that in this movie. Although this movie does have its own cheat as well, which is what will dive us into what I'm on the fence about when it comes to this movie. And that is the Tony Stark Spidey suit. It's a different take. It's not the same classic suit that we've seen twice now, pretty much. But why I'm on the fence when it comes to this suit is because it's so convenient. Way too convenient of a suit. Yeah, it works out for the movie a little bit. There's a lot of comedy that's behind him trying to figure out how the suit works. But I wish they would have kept everything that was in this suit and saved that for the Iron Spider suit, because that would have made more sense. As a matter of fact, and I know I'm jumping ahead in the review series a little bit, but when we see Spider-Man in Infinity War and he actually puts on the Iron Spider suit, it's a little lackluster because there's nothing special about the Iron Spider suit. It does the same thing that this suit does, besides the fact that it's nanotech metal and it has the spider legs that come out the back. Besides that, it does nothing different than the suit we get in this movie, which to me is just way too much suit for this Spider-Man. And they try to play into the story. They really do. They take the suit away. You don't deserve this suit if you think you need this suit.
I was just trying to be like you.
I wanted you to be better. I'm gonna need the suit back.
But I'm nothing without this suit.
If you're nothing without this suit, then you shouldn't have it.
I get the concept. Too much. It was just way too much. Another thing that I'm on the fence about when it comes to this movie is odd development of certain characters, or even lack thereof development of certain characters. Prime example would be the Shocker. For some reason, they build up this one guy. You realize the guy who's playing the Shocker from the very beginning of the movie, he's just a rough around the edges, not dependable type of sketchy dude. And it seems like they're going to take this character and develop him into almost like a double cross a little bit. Like he's going to end up turning on Vulture, which would have been a neat storyline. But before we build to that, they literally just get rid of him. they kill him. Then they give the Shocker thing to the other guy. It was a completely pointless buildup of that character. That character's development was completely stifled. And the other guy that took over as the Shocker, I knew nothing about him besides he was also in the movie. Because the movie didn't spend any time with that guy. I don't know why it ended the movie with him being the Shocker. Didn't make any sense to me. Didn't take me out of the movie at all, which is why I'm on the fence about it. Actually, there's a lot of things I'm on the fence about in this movie that were teetering on being what I don't like, but they didn't take me out of the movie so much. Another character that did this would be Danny Glover as Aaron Davis, which, if you don't know, Aaron Davis is Miles Morales' uncle. That's pretty cool. Like, okay, they acknowledge that Miles Morales exists in this world. He even mentions his nephew. Danny Glover, for years, petitioned to play Miles Morales as Spider-Man. And then he kind of aged out of the role. Now you can play Miles Morales' uncle. Except they do nothing with this character. Nothing with the character besides just a cameo. That's what it is. It's just a cameo going, hey, we might have Miles Morales. Who knows? We'll never dive deep into that again. But he has no real purpose in this movie besides it just being a shout out. And on top of that, Danny Glover's acting is not great. And I know Danny Glover can be a really good actor. I've seen him act really, really well. In this movie, he's just kind of phoning it in. What they did with that character and Danny Glover's take on that character are both just very lackluster. Okay, well, I'm glad you acknowledged Miles Morales, but you set up nothing in the future for that character. Tony Stark / Iron Man and Happy being in this movie are great. They're great aspects. I love the character Happy. I love Jon Favreau. Jon Favreau playing Happy is like one of my guilty pleasures. And Tony Stark, you can't go wrong with him. So why do I have an issue with it? I have an issue with the role they play in this movie as kind of like parents over Peter Parker. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Peter Parker was sent back to Queens to do what he was doing before. Yes, he's got a new upgraded suit and he's more eager to hear back from Tony Stark and hopefully become an Avenger. That's his main goal. That's all he wants to do. Why does he need parent figures like Tony Stark and Happy? If he's doing the same thing that he did before, just let him be. I mean, you gave him the new Spidey suit. What the hell did you expect him to do with that? He just happens to run into criminals that are more violent and more extreme, but Happy and Tony Stark talk to Peter Parker like it's his fault for getting involved with these guys.
Do me a favor. Can't you just be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man? Just stay close to the ground. Listen, Peter, forget the flying monster guy. There are people who handle this sort of thing.
He's just doing the same thing. I don't understand why they treat him the way they do in this film. It just seems like a very thin thread. Like, hey, we need Spider-Man to play Spider-Man in Queens for a movie. We'll have Tony Stark and Happy over here just acting like grumpy old men because MCU. Another thing that I'm on the fence about when it comes to this movie is the fact that this movie is so freaking woke. I don't have a problem with people being woke. If y'all want to woke all day, then woke all day. I don't give a shit. But when you make a movie that is as woke as this one, then do me a favor. Stay consistent with your wokeness. They're hitting most of the beats. They're all inclusive, doing their very best not to offend anybody. Or are they? Because they completely over-sexualize Aunt May. It's a very odd oversight with the rest of the narrative this movie has. And she's constantly over-sexualized by many people throughout the entire movie. It's a running bit. But not just her, we also go to the high school students where you have the teenage girls playing Fuck, Marry, Kill. That's right. You have an underage teenage character in this movie saying that she wants to fuck Thor. Again, I personally don't care, but if you're gonna make a woke-ass movie, then stick to your woke-ass ways, okay? Hell, even Ned says he's watching porn when he gets caught helping Spider-Man on the computer. Again, if you haven't got it yet, my point is, if you're going to be this woke, maybe stay away from over-sexualizing teenagers and Aunt May. Moving right along with things I do not like about this movie, and I'm going to come right out of the gate. I'm going to say it, and I'm going to say it loud, and I'm going to say it proud. Flash Thompson sucks. What is his point? Who is he? What's he doing in this movie? He does nothing. Flash Thompson is a bully, an obstacle for Peter to overcome in his journeys as Spider-Man. That doesn't happen in this movie. He's not even really a bully because bullies are bad. So he's more of a ball buster in this movie. There's nothing for Peter to develop from here. And that's kind of Flash's point. He's a huge development process for Peter Parker and Spider-Man. He adds nothing. He's just there because his name is Flash and they wanted to change him up a bit, which is fine. You can change up a character. Hell, MJ, they completely changed in this movie, and I think it still works because her primary point in Peter's life is the same. Flash's is not. It's completely different. It just rewrote a new character and put Flash's name on it. That's why I don't like it. And there's really not much on the I don't like list, to be honest with you. As I said before, a lot of the stuff that I was teetering on went over into the on the fence because it didn't take me out of the movie. So my last what I don't like point is actually going to be more of a petty point, if you will. That's how nobody, not one person, not a single soul questions the laser that destroyed the elevator randomly. This radioactive laser that was in Ned's backpack cuts this elevator like almost in half, and nobody asks why. It's never brought up again. It's never a concern. It's not even a minor point made, like, I wonder what happened. No, nothing. Overall, this movie was actually, just as I said, a lot of fun. It was just so well balanced, so well paced. I wasn't bored at really any moments in the movie. All the callbacks to the Avengers, the John Hughes style of filming, it all works for this movie. It's really just well done. And yeah, there's a few things that I'm on the fence about, quite a few things, but there's very little I don't like about this movie. And to me, that speaks volumes on how well this movie was actually made. So for all these reasons, I'm giving this movie an A-.
That was wonderful.
Bravo!
I loved that.
Oh, it was great.
Well, it was pretty good.
There you have it, dudes. My review for Spider-Man Homecoming. We are now in the home stretch. There's only one more movie that I need to do. The Far From Home review. I think that's it. And then we're done because I already did my No Way Home. I bet Seth is going to make me do Spider-Verse. Is it too late for me to make this an all live action Spider-Man series? Anyway, let me know what you thought about this movie in the comments below. Also, be sure to check out some more of my videos. And as always, stay trigger happy, my friends. Peace.
Hi, I'm Captain America, here to talk to you about one of the most valuable traits a soldier or student can have: patience.